Last night, we saw absolute chaos in Michigan. Wayne County, which is where Detroit is, refused to certify the results of the election. Two Republicans were citing serious discrepancies, saying they weren't going to sign off on this. This would have kicked certification up to like state board officials, who then could have just said, OK, fine, we'll certify. That's not what happened. You see, the left organized a harassment campaign, started calling the Republicans racist for questioning discrepancies in vote counts and unbalanced voter books. They were racist, and that people were going to know. And one guy even said, everyone, millions of people will know who you are. One guy apparently referenced their children, and then they caved. Oh, these poor people. Look, I sympathize, I empathize with those that are on the bad end of a cancel culture attack, but you must always stand on principle. My friends, do you think that they will now just leave you alone? That you said, oh, we've seen the light. We are going to certify the results of this election, even in the face of all of these discrepancies. And now it's all going to be better. People are going to say, well, you did the right thing and give you a firm handshake. No, they're going to be like, that proves it. You knew you were racist. When you give in and bend the knee, it proves it. These people, these Republicans should have known better. Now what they're going to say is, see, they were being racist. And then it was only after they got called out for being racist did they finally relent, proving they were racist. Congratulations to these Republicans who could have actually stood for something and then didn't. And now it will never end. But I tell you, man, Trump's biggest problem right now, although he has some of the most fervent supporters of any politician in a long time, marching, waving flags that say Trump has too many cowards that support him. And I mean, it's a good thing that people support him. And I'm not trying to be overly disrespectful to these people. I understand why they'd be scared. But you see, by bending the knee, they've just made it worse. And that is a recurring theme in the culture war. Many people bend the knee and it just gets worse. All right, it was Captain America himself who said, when everyone tells you you're wrong, it's your job to plant yourself like a tree and say, when they tell you to move, you say, no, you move. Now we have a bunch of people that are standing their ground. You know what it is? It's interesting. It reminds me of, to cite that movie, The Patriot again. It's like militia is forming the center. And as soon as there's any sign of threat, they panic and they run and they flee. And that's unfortunate for Trump. If he had actual principled fans, supporters, this wouldn't have happened. They would have said, I'll tell you what I would have said. If there are discrepancies in what, like 71% of the books, that's massive. I'm not signing off on that. I don't care. You can do whatever you want. You can send it to whoever you want. You can call me any name you want. I'm not going to do it. Well, they caved immediately. But we've also got more crazy. I'll read this and we'll go through what happened. And again, I'm not trying to be mean or anything. I understand it's scary when the mob is coming after you. But if everyone just keeps bowing to these people, they'll just keep doing it. You need to say, shut your mouth, and then put your feet up, crack a cigar and say, you ain't getting me to change my opinion. You can do whatever you want, because I got no problem. See me, I got no problem living in a van down by the river. I guess too many people, well, they have families, they have kids, they're scared. And you got to understand right now, many people have said to me, Tim, I have kids. I can't do this. That's the exploit. You understand? That's how they're exploiting you, because many of these leftists don't have kids, so they don't care what happens to them. But you do, and you've got to provide, and they're using that against you. So I only ask you, what future would you leave for your kids if you bow to these people endlessly? Now, listen, I'm not, look, to be fair, I'm not down there in Wayne County. I don't know exactly what the issue was. They said it was unbalanced books. The amount of signatures didn't match the amount of votes, and there was too many this time. Perhaps if there were more votes than signatures, I'd probably say that's a problem. But I think it was more signatures than votes. And they said a simple explanation is that people went to vote, signed in, and then the line was too long and left. Maybe. Either way, if there's discrepancies and you call them out, stand by your decision, because all you've done now is made everything worse for yourself. But there's more news, too. My friends, we have historic voter irregularities. And I'm saying irregularity because I'm playing it light. A third county in Georgia, has now discovered, a bunch of ballots we didn't count. Once again, giving Donald Trump a net gain. How strange. Hat trick. What's the likelihood that 3 counties discover 3 batches of ballots all favoring Donald Trump? Isn't that something? Now, is that a coincidence? Sure, maybe. You give me 2 more counties, I'm going to go buy a lottery ticket, Powerball, because no way. No way. 3 counties already said, oops, we found ballots we didn't count, and they all favor Trump. Let me read this story about what's going on in Wayne County, because it looks like Trump had a flickering moment of where it may actually be a legal challenge because of these voter irregularities. Not so much anymore. They basically said, okay, we're going to certify this as long as you do an audit, which is like saying, I'm going to buy the car or I'm going to buy the house and then I'll hire an inspector. That's not how it works. You get the house inspected before you buy it, because then you might find the whole place is trash. Nope. It's like buying something sight unseen. I have no idea. We didn't send in an inspector. We just bought it. But don't worry. The seller promises that after we move in and sign the contracts, then they'll inspect it. Great. Then you go in and inspect and go, hey, wait a minute. This house is falling apart. Well, too bad. You bought it already. The election's certified. So you do an audit now. They're going to go, whoa, look at all these problems. Oh, well, election was certified. Biden won. That's how it works. They go on to say, Jenna Ellis, a senior legal advisor to the Trump 2020 campaign, told Fox News on Tuesday that 2 Republicans on Michigan's Wayne County Board of Canvassers involved in a brief deadlock over the certification process faced threats and allegations of racism before they agreed to certify the ballots. Their decision to side with their Democrat colleagues was dramatic and viewed by conservatives on social media as a capitulation after a brutal 2-hour public pressure campaign. Ellis told Shannon Bean, the host of the show, that she received reports that these 2 board members correctly spotted discrepancies, and she said the ballot counts in 71% of the county's precincts do not match voter rolls. That's significant. That doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or a Republican. You should be concerned about it. Kayleigh McEnany, Trump's White House press secretary, announced earlier on Twitter that there were 234 pages of sworn affidavits that raised allegations of fraud in the county. William Hartman and Monica Palmer, the canvassers, had been praised by fellow Republicans. John James, the Republican Senate candidate from the state, who is black, said he applauded them for their bravery in the face of unbelievable pressure to ignore inconvenient truths that threaten our democracy. Laura Cox, the Michigan Republican Party's chairwoman, also said in a statement that there appeared to be enough evidence of irregularities and potential voter fraud that was uncovered, the Detroit Free Press reported. The deadlock even caught the attention of Trump, who tweeted, wow, Michigan just refused to certify the election results. Having courage is a beautiful thing. Now, unfortunately for Trump, it was just shortly after he tweeted that they came back and said, okay, fine, we give, please leave me alone. Please just spare my family from your glorious revolution. These people just don't get it, man. They just don't get it. Critics said the decision not to certify the votes was a direct affront on minority communities. Ned Stabler, the chief executive of Techtown, who according to the New York Times is a poll challenger at the TCF Center in the city, said in a viral Zoom meeting, the Trump stain, the stain of racism that you, William Hartman, and Monica Palmer have covered yourself in is going to follow you throughout history. He said you two would forever be known in southeastern Michigan as 2 racists who did something so unprecedented that they disenfranchised hundreds of thousands of black voters in the city of Detroit. Governor Gretchen Whitmer, the state's Democrat, said in an earlier statement, in refusing to approve the results of the election in Wayne County, the 2 Republican members of the Wayne County Board of Canvassers have placed partisan politics above their legal duty to certify election results. Rep. Rashida Tlaib took to Twitter to blame the canvassers of putting politics and their, above their duty, about their duty to our residents. Is that an error? Suggesting that all of Wayne County can be certified except for Detroit is horrifyingly racist and a subversion of our democracy, Tlaib added. You see the game they play? You do the fraud in the specific area where you can claim racism. So when the books don't match, they say, well, it's not really about the books. It's about racism. Grow a spine, people. Jeez. You know what, man? I'm not even a conservative. I don't know, you can call me whatever you want, but man, I would rather live on my feet than die on my knees. You can call me whatever name you want. I don't care. Look, if there's a discrepancy in the vote and the books don't match, I'm not signing it. Sorry. And they're going to say you're racist. I'm like, oh, is that true? Huh? Wow, that's crazy. How about that? You're going to go down in history. It's like, will I? Wow. How about that? You're not convincing me to sign off on something that doesn't make sense. You know what, man? It's funny too, because I don't sign anything. People need to know this. You could send me. I've done shows, and they're like, "Here's a release form." I'm not signing that. What we need to. No, I'm not signing it. I'm not going to sign anything unless it's like a legitimate business contract, and I'm not going to sign off anything. You know what I would say? You know, I'd be like, "Oh, that's really interesting." Lawyer, bring in the lawyers. Let's go through this. I'm not signing anything. But these people caved as soon as racist emerged. It's so pathetic. Gotta grow spines, man. Look, I tell you this. The Trump supporters over at places like the Donald Win, they got like 2 spines. Their spines are sticking out their back because they refuse to back down in any capacity. They're saying straight up, Trump won, end of story. It takes guts to defy the mainstream establishment when they're telling you you're crazy and a conspiracy theorist. These people don't care. They're saying, no, we know what we believe what we believe. We're not backing down. You need people like that in politics to an extent. You need people to say, I know what's right. Your pathetic harassment and threats will not change my mind. Unless, of course, these people were lying and they didn't really have a reason to not certify the results. I got to say, though, if they're openly saying there were discrepancies here, why are they signing off on it? They're going to say, suggesting that Wayne County, blah, blah, blah. She praised the residents in the county after the decision to certify was announced. Palmer said poll books in certain precincts in Detroit, a majority black city, were out of balance. Jonathan Kinlock, a Democrat on the panel, said the discrepancies were the result of human error and called it reckless and irresponsible not to certify the results. You mean there was massive human error in like 71% of our ballot books? Sorry, you can't certify that. This is ridiculous. Could you imagine? It's like, well, the election numbers don't quite add up properly. Something doesn't make sense, but well, it would be racist if we tried to clarify this error. Let's just certify the election. Great. Hartman said after the meeting that the intense criticism didn't cause him to change his vote. He said he acted because the board had agreed to ask the Secretary of State to investigate Detroit's election results. Now, to be fair, is actually still potentially a win. They're certifying the results. If they do an audit in a timely manner before we get to December 8th, I would imagine, or before they choose the electors, this actually might work out on Trump's behalf because doing an audit, still a good thing. So to be fair, okay, maybe I was a little harsh on these guys. I like I mentioned, doing the audit after you certify kind of doesn't make sense, but maybe there could be something here. I would say, however, I'd say audit first. Give me an audit and then I'll sign off on it. That's it. You should have done an audit a long time ago. They say as part of the agreement, the board asked Michigan Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson to audit the election process and pursue reforms to prevent discrepancies in the future. See? It was basically them saying, throw Trump under the bus and we'll do what you want next time. Okay. Congratulations. Ellis said it is absolutely mob rule at this point. The president is right that these people need to have courage. She said, the state should not certify anything until, quote, we get to the bottom of this systematic and pervasive fraud. It doesn't matter. Look, I think it's fair to say when it comes to fraud, we have the smoke alarm going off and there's with a fire alarm going off and there's smoke coming out of the building. They're saying, but is there evidence of fire? Well, yes, the smoke. But like, did you see all the fire? No, because we see the smoke. I'm not going in the building. Someone else is supposed to be doing that, but they're not going to. So I tell you this, when 71% of the books are unbalanced, you can say it's just a simple error. And I'll say, I don't care. How can we have all of these discrepancies? My friends, check this out. Second Georgia county finds previously uncounted votes. Votes added in Recount, now 3 counties. We have Floyd, Fayette, and Walton County now have all discovered ballots. Oh, my. What a coincidence. It's just a coincidence that we have historic recount margins for Donald Trump. You know what? They say that most recounts only net a few hundred. That the biggest we've seen was in Florida, the Florida recount that brought Al Gore like 1,300 votes or whatever. And now Donald Trump has gotten way more than that. He got 800 in the first go around. I think he got around 500 or 600 in the second. And now he's got another 176. So congratulations, Donald Trump. You now have broken a record for the amount of votes received following a recount. And guess what? The amount he's received so far is about 10% of Joe Biden's lead. And that's just 3 counties where this has happened. Is it possible there's more? At this point, I'm going to go ahead and say yes, because when you pull off a hat trick, that means you do it 3 times. Sounds like we've got something systemic, right? How is it? Explain to me. No, this is presumably widespread at this point. They're going to say it was only 3 counties. I'm sorry, it's historic margins. Is this not evidence of widespread impropriety, failure, systemic voter failure? I think that's the fair way to frame it. We don't got to call it fraud. Oopsie, someone just accidentally didn't count these Trump votes. Well, we shouldn't disenfranchise these people. I think we now have evidence to suggest we need a hard audit in Georgia. Now, Georgia's doing a full hand recount. Trump's upset because they're not doing like full signature verification, stuff like that. I get it. I don't know what you can actually do in terms of getting the perfect recount, because this is political. This is political civil war. That's what Mother Jones called it. This is both sides trying to pull out every stop and use anything they can to win. But let me just say, I think at this point, when 3 counties in Georgia just discover ballots for Trump, shaving off more than 10% of Joe Biden's lead, we need serious investigations into this. I think what we're seeing is, as I've described it several times, a standalone complex. And if you haven't heard me explain this, it means a bunch of people acting in concert, giving the appearance of a conspiracy. Like I said, they are people who probably just hate Trump, orange man bad, Trump derangement syndrome by any means necessary. No one tells them to do this. They count the ballots and they say, whoa, this is 800 plus for Trump. They look at the memory stick, they chuck it in a box before putting it in the machine. Why? Because they're stopping the fascists. It's just one person. No one told them to do that. It wasn't coordinated or planned. They just chucked the votes for Trump. That sounds like what is the likely scenario. I would normally just say, if they found 1 memory card, I'm like, someone maybe just forgot to put in the memory card. Then they found 2, and I was like, well, it's not. Now they found 3. Okay, stop. You found 3? This is from the Walton Tribune. My understanding is the Walton Tribune has been serving Walton County since 1900. That's impressive. They say the audit of votes in the presidential race revealed missing votes in Walton County. 284 ballots were added from the precinct. They netted 176 votes for President Donald Trump. Wow. That means like most of them were for Trump, or almost all of them. The certified totals as of last week showed Trump, the Republican incumbent, with 37,617 or 74.03% of the 50,811 votes in Walton County. But as of Tuesday afternoon, Trump's local haul had risen to 37,842 to 74.06%. Democratic nominee Joe Biden came in a distant second. Okay, that's fine. Libertarian Joe Jorgensen gained 10 votes. Wow. Lori Wood, chairwoman of the Board of Elections, said that between precincts had 2 scanners. One of them got uploaded and another one didn't. Wood said she was confident the error would have been found and all votes counted. And what if Trump conceded on election night? You see the problem here. Trump can't concede. I don't know if Trump's going to be able to pull ahead. But think about it this way. If 3 counties have been discovered, we're looking at historic recount swing for Trump. If he conceded and they didn't do this, we would not have known there was historic failure. Now, it might not be enough to change the results. Maybe Donald Trump actually still ends up losing. But isn't it important that we now know that this happened so we can fix it later on? Trump did the right thing. He did, refusing to back down. Quote, we would have discovered it, maybe not this week, but we would have discovered it, she said. The audit brought it to our attention sooner. Trump could have conceded based on their failure. He could have said, I'm looking at these numbers, I give up. Nope. Turns out, a lot of votes for Trump. They say in addition to the error in Walton County, 2 other mistakes have narrowed Trump's deficit in Georgia. Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger's office cited human error and gross negligence in 2,600 missing votes in Floyd County. Raffensperger's office called the Floyd County election manager to resign, but Wood said that Walton County elections officials had taken no such calls from Atlanta. In Fayette County, according to GBP, a memory card was scanned but not uploaded to the county's electronic results. As of 4 p.m. Tuesday, Biden led by 13,977 out of nearly 5 million in Georgia. Should the former vice president's lead hold, He would be the first Democrat to carry Georgia since 1992. The Atlanta Journal-Constitution reported the Secretary of State's office will release the audited numbers from all 159 counties at once, likely on Thursday, on a website that will include electronic tabulations, scanned images of tally sheets, and other supporting documents. Okay, 159 counties. They found 3 errors giving Trump a boost. Maybe that's it. Fine. Maybe Trump doesn't win. Okay. But you can't say it's not widespread because these 3 counties are 3 different places where we had these serious errors. So there is widespread impropriety at this point. It needs to be investigated. I don't think it will be, but I'll say it again. Could you imagine if Trump conceded and these irregularities exist? So I believe it was Sidney Powell, Trump's lawyer, said that any Republican who lost by 6% needs to file a lawsuit right now. Right now. I believe we are looking at historic voter failure. You know what's really weird? Mail-in and absentee ballots, according to the New York Times, have a higher failure rate, nearly double. It goes up to around 2%. And in-person ballots have a failure rate of about 1%. It actually happens because sometimes signatures can't be verified or something happens to the ballots. This time around, we have historic acceptance rates for mail-in votes. Where are the rejections? I covered this endlessly throughout the primaries, the Democrat primaries, where we were seeing hundreds of thousands of ballots being held up, disappeared. Nothing right now. The Voter Integrity Fund has already found many people who say they Republicans, they mailed in their ballots and they were never marked as received. And that's actually just how simple it really is. It is, like I said, it takes one person, not a conspiracy, to kick a box from a Republican county under a shelf, and then, oopsie, the ballots never get delivered. And that's why mail-in ballots were problematic. And that's why Trump told his base to vote in person. But still, I believe around 30 to 40%, like 35% of the mail-in ballots in most places were Republican, and the majority, between 65 to 70%, was Democrat. And there you go. I'm not surprised. We'll see how this plays out. But I got to tell you, it's looking not so good for Trump. It's a reality. Next segment's coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I will see you all then.